Good evening. It is my distinct pleasure to virtually welcome you all to the University of Colorado Boulder for a conversation on cultivating compassion and dignity in schools. We know that compassion, dignity, and belonging are essential components to ensuring that young people can grow and thrive across their educational journeys and throughout their lives. It's imperative that those of us who interact with and educate today's youth have the knowledge and support to uplift their social and emotional well-being. Our collective future depends on it. We are honored to welcome Your Holiness the Dalai Lama back to CU Boulder for this important and timely conversation. I'd also like to extend that gratitude to our panelists of renowned scholars and K-12 educators. The last time the Dalai Lama visited our campus in 2016, the seeds were just being planted that would lead to the formation of the Renée Crown Wellness Institute. I'm so grateful to my friend P.C. Crown for bringing her vision to our campus and honoring her mother in the naming of the Crown Institute. As an interdisciplinary home for scientists, scholars, and practitioners, the Renée Crown Wellness Institute is creating a world where every young person may thrive, supported by the caring relationships and inner resources required for a lifetime of wellness. Connection and community are at the heart of this work, including partnerships with organizations like the Compassion Institute, our co-host for tonight's event. Whether you work in education, are a parent, or simply envision a more prosperous future for the next generation, I hope you will leave informed and inspired by the wisdom shared here tonight. Thank you.
Your Holiness, it is so wonderful to have this privilege to be in conversation with you once again. I have had the honor to present to you in several Mind and Life dialogues in the past. And today, on behalf of the Crown Institute and the Compassion Institute, we would like to share our deepest gratitude for the opportunity to speak with you about compassion and dignity in schools. To those joining live, my name is Sona Demijan, and I am the director of the Crown Institute and professor of psychology and neuroscience at the University of Colorado Boulder. I would like to welcome you all. Your Holiness, your teachings have inspired people around the world to be curious about the benefits of compassion in education. And your conversations with scientists, especially through the Mind and Life dialogues, have inspired new research that has demonstrated positive impacts of compassion training. At the Crown Institute, we have been working to build on that foundation, asking, how can we ensure that compassion is a part of every student's experience? And we know that educators are essential to this vision. In fact, many of us wouldn't be here today without a teacher who had shown us compassion. Likely, we can each call to mind a teacher in our own lives who opened their hearts to us, who saw us in our wholeness, and who inspired us in some important ways. And yet, Your Holiness, the pressure on teachers today is enormous, and the support is often scarce. We wanted to create a program that would address these challenges and focus on the needs of teachers themselves, how they can deepen their practices of compassion to create safe, inclusive, and just schools. We knew we couldn't do this just as scientists. And so we worked in partnership for nearly 5 years with almost 100 teachers and educators and experts at the Compassion Institute, particularly Thupten Jinpa, to design a year-long program called Cultivating Compassion and Dignity in Ourselves and Our Schools. It is a 4-course sequence that can be completed entirely online, available to all interested teachers around the world who might not otherwise have access to such learning. People can now earn a master's degree in teacher leadership from the School of Education at the University of Colorado Boulder by studying in part compassion. The launch of this program at a major university is an important milestone in the effort to bring compassion into the mainstream of education. And about this, we feel great joy. At the same time, we are always striving to learn more. We want to bring as much benefit to as many teachers and students as possible. We know that compassion is critical to strengthening our hearts and our minds, to healing divisions in our communities, and to connecting us with our planet and our collective future. We are here today, Your Holiness, to ask for your counsel. I am joined by 6 educators and researchers in this conversation with you, some of whom were part of creating the Compassion and Dignity program, and some who are learners in the program right now, supported by the generosity of the Hamira Foundation. Each person, time permitting, has 2 questions. Our partner in this work, our colleague on the Mind and Life Board, and your longtime translator, Thupten Jimpa, is also joining to assist us with translation when needed. And at the end of our conversation, the executive director of the Compassion Institute, Stephen Butler, will briefly say a word of thanks. Your Holiness, we also are being joined by some special guests of the 2 institutes that are co-hosting today's event. As we begin, Your Holiness, could you speak to the importance of bringing compassion into education and what teachers specifically can do to bring compassion more explicitly into their classrooms?
Thank you. I feel great honor you give me this opportunity, some talks about our inner value. Now it is quite simple. I think all we call sentient beings, or the practical, now all these living things on our planet. You see, even including these flowers, trees, although it's our sort of perception, according to our perception, they have no consciousness. But they appreciate peace. Once, so while some discussion, I think most probably one Russian, or I can't now remember. According to his sort of the view, experience, flower daily scold. On the other hand, same kind of flower is saying nice thing. The eventually reaction from the flower become differences. Once I have some discussions. Someone told me like that. So in any way, plants, these, if we take care, water or sun, they grow well. If we neglect, they die. That's nature. So then all mammals in our planet, you see, everyone want survival. For survival, peace, important. And particularly we sentient being, particularly we human being. I think the according to reality, as a matter of fact, as soon as we're born, including human being, the mother always take care their baby. So that's the basis of our survival. When we're born, if mother, you see, no feeling of compassion, or I think due to certain circumstances, if mother abandoned, then child die. So, including animal, the mothers take with love is the key factor for survival of the child. Then, gradually, see the compassionate relation with your family member. And then, as a social animal, your own group. If you see the whole, your group or your community, with love, with full of love, everybody feel happy. So, if you look world, in the past, so many violence, so many killing, not out of love, but hatred, anger. And anger, you see, human intelligence, you see, utilize short-term interest. So for short-term interest, and anger come. And then violence come. Now today, we people, human beings on this planet, you see, everywhere want peace, peace. Peace, not just sacred, it's the basis of our life. So therefore, in order to develop a peaceful world, we must think our inner mind. When our mind peace, then of course, even weapon there no longer use. So therefore, ultimately, peace of mind is key factor. Now the ultimate basis of peace of mind is loving kindness. The loving kindness, I myself meditate as soon as wake up. Compassion. So that immense benefit. Your mind, peace, calm. And peace, not just kind of peace without disturbances, but with compassion, peace of mind. Even you face some, or say the trouble, some disturbances, still compassion there, you can keep peace of mind. Therefore, peace of mind is not just a religious subject, but for survival of humanity on the basis of individual, compassionate mind, very happy, peace. So, usually you see people consider compassion is something religious subject. No, the compassion is for our own survival, for our own happy life. According to my own little experience, I passing through difficult period. In this period, compassionate mind, including those people who create a problem, suffering on us, still they are a human brother, human sister. We have to live side by side. Thinking that way is a more compassionate feeling that really brings inner peace. Inner peace brings inner strength. Anger looks, you see, bring extra because of energy. But if we more closely look, there's some energy which bring due to anger is very short, temporary. Eventually, that kind of power may become self-destructive. So therefore, since we, all sentient beings, and particularly we human beings, our very life starts with mother's love. So now, each individual, more compassionate mind, you see, in spite some difficulties, you can maintain peace of mind. According to my own little experience, the practice of compassion is really very, very helpful. Now, people usually consider compassion is something religious subject. That is wrong. Whether you accept a religion or not, whether you believer or non-believer, everyone want happy life, peaceful life. So, compassion is key factor. So, now Tibetan word, Rangshan Rabruchir Changju Sim Yevrikis. So Rangdu Trunaya Changju Sim, Shandu Trunaya Changju Sim Risha. Chadu Sim Shidiyaya Sim Dewadi Changju Sim. Tela Dene Lungum Dewadi Changju Sim. Kanda be ene kanda kasore min merim mori shidi sem kibadi chanju sim. 쿨유코레 지 시디 영야다 대화 영야사디 sembo samgucha zawarisha.
So in the Tibetan, there is a phrase related to a particular passage, which really says that whether it is promotion of one's own well-being or whether it is the promotion of well-being of others, the root is altruistic intention. Similarly, whether it is the promotion of our immediate kind of welfare or whether it is a promotion of a long-term welfare. So for example, when you are able to cultivate a genuinely altruistic mind, a kind heart, in the immediate, you feel the consequence, which is a sense of peace within yourself. And then the long-term benefit is really manifested more even in the form of our physical well-being, because our health gets better. And similarly, whether it is in relation to the well-being of an individual, each one of us, or whether it is in individual well-being of a society. And even, for example, we know when an individual is able to cultivate a kind heart, it creates, even changes the ambiance around that person. Even the atmosphere changes. And in this way, you can see that kind heart and altruism is altruistic heart is really the source of all of this well-being.
남규대한다 통왕 구와주 근데 사진세 대한 제제 아니 통왕대마 숨기에 소를 주원되기 닥대생이 동네다 양다저 마셔나 사진이도 민주주 코하나야 대화매 대외경의 그새 전주심기 따셔네 대내 대화는 로도 섬시 수시 기루유사 어떻게 지금 말을 전주집에 서울시 어다 통왕구단주 어다 디 럽저디 숨기 봐 가서래 숨기 요를 지금 초월을 된데 시제 디 쉬우지 차와도 간다 섬을 시디여나 그 정신기 류의 때 그래서 에 클래스 세븐에 심리 시디여나 칼라도 좋아셔요래 심 추대나 칼라 야우쇼이네 가서도 뭐 더야게 얘기해요래.
So in my own case, quite often in the morning, I have an image of the Buddha in my room, and quite often in the morning, I imagine as if I'm hearing the following words from the Buddha's own mouth. So as a Buddhist, of course, I revere Buddha, and I imagine as if these words I'm hearing from him. And the words say that, if you are not able to care about others' welfare, let alone finding joy in this life, let alone attaining liberation for the Buddhist enlightenment, even in this life, there will be no real joy for you. Therefore, by riding the horse of altruistic mind and traveling from a place of one joy to another, what intelligent person wouldn't embark on such a journey? So I imagine hearing these words as if the Buddha is telling me, and in this way, I really try to embody and practice this on a daily way, remind myself. And it is true, because if you are able to cultivate a kind heart, in the immediate, it creates a peace of mind for yourself. And as you get used to more and more of having this kind of experience of peace of mind, then it creates even a more resilient immune system, so that your even physical well-being is supported, health is supported. On the other hand, if your mind is most of the time disturbed, if you're agitated, then with the agitated mind, even you won't be able to enjoy your meal. Even you try to prepare something that is really good for you, you lose your appetite. And if anything, if your anger is at such an explosive stage, then you might even smash the plate on which the food is arranged. So we can see the contrast between the consequence of anger and agitated mind on the one hand, and a kind heart and compassion on the other. And this is true.
안데 시월에 송야디 간이 다르시디 책디 껴되기 요래 직전 동네 진이와 되게 랑든 들려죠. 직전 대화 진이와 되게 샹든 들려죠. 마음도 샤다 지시고 투버 샹기 탄서와 집을 랑기 던져도 투버 샹기 탄서와 니기네 차버더스. 엔디 쇼데 닥터 샹기 동네다 야다 저어 마셔나 상제이도 민주주 코와나야 대화매 대외 경에 근세에 장주섬기 따셔네 대나 대화는 로와도 섬시 수시 기루주 그 측실이 인다 스탠디기 섬을 수시 파용기다.
So the verses that I refer to are part of a text by the 8th century Buddhist teacher Shantideva. And I recite these verses on a regular basis. In fact, there's another 2 sets of stanzas where Shantideva says that all the miseries in the world, if you look deeply, they really come from excessive self-centeredness. And all the goodness in the world, if you dig deeper, you will find out that they come from a place of altruistic, other-oriented mind. And so if you're not able to switch this excessive self-focus towards a focus on others' well-being, let alone attaining Buddhahood, even in this life, there is no place for real joy. So in these words, I find them very powerful, and I recite them on a daily basis, and they're deeply inspiring.
So this affection from warm-heartedness, even animal, very much appreciate. When you see to dog or some other animal, when you show them smile, the dog also, you see, their tail do like that. A dog, no religion, no idea, but show the angry face, the dog's tail go like that, and then run away. So therefore, the warm-heartedness is not only we human being, but also other animals very much sort of love, very much appreciate. So there is no other sort of prayer or tradition or something. Simply try to warm-heartedness.
Cultivate.
That is a key factor. Now, I feel we people, as I mentioned before, at very young age, you see, compassion, loving kindness is something very living. And then gradually, that is not much bother. We intellectual study, knowledge. I feel that is a mistake in our education field. The very purpose of education, not for troublemaking, but peace of mind. And even you see problem through education transform or say peace. So therefore, in our education field, now we should pay more attention about warm-heartedness, not talking about next life or God or some religious belief. Simply, whether we accept or not, you see, we are social animal. We have to live on this planet about 7 billion human beings. So that is the reality. We have no other choice. We have to live among the 7 billion human beings as brothers, sisters. so more compassionate. This 7 billion human being can be happy humanity. Not thinking about these deeper value, or only politics or money, or worst thing, weapon, never solve our problem. Problem can solve with inner peace and genuine sense of brotherhood, sisterhood. So my dedication, whole my life, try to promote warm-heartedness, not talking religion, not talking next life, but simply day-to-day life. Everyone want happy, peaceful life. So warm-heartedness, very important. Whether you're a believer or non-believer, or believe in this religion or that religion, that is secondary, individual matter. But overall, we, 7 billion human beings, should pay more attention about warm-heartedness. Okay.
Sona.
Thank you very much. Your Holiness, it is an honor to introduce you to our panelists for this, our time together, so we can continue to learn from your teachings. Our first question comes from Ben Inoue. Ben is an 8th grade teacher, an 8th grade English teacher at Yuma Middle School, which is in a rural part of the northeast part of Colorado.
Your Holiness, I'm so happy and grateful to speak with you. I started the Compassion and Dignity course at the University of Colorado Boulder this summer, and I am new to the practice of setting intentions. In moments of
Go ahead.
In moments of stillness, it is easy for me to remember my intentions, such as being patient with difficult students. But when it gets stressful, I often fall back into my old habits. Your Holiness, the question I have for you is this: how can I keep my intentions at the front of my mind, even when situations are difficult and I feel frustrated? Can you speak to the connection between one's intentions and compassionate action? Thank you.
Yes, it is true. But actually, patience, tolerance on the basis of compassion is when we passing through difficulties. These are very relevant. When you are no problem, just lay down in sun or take bath, no problem. Then you see, not very relevant about compassion. You simply lay down. The compassion really need when you're facing some problem and causing some disturbances, unhappiness. During that moment, like medicine, no illness, no need medicine. When you are physical, some illness, then medicine need. Similarly, when we passing through difficult, at that moment, compassion, peace of mind, the source of peace of mind is very relevant. So, according to my own little experience, if I still remain in Potala, maybe less experience, about, you see, practice of these compassion or these things. Because my life become a lot of problem. So then compassionate feeling really very relevant and useful. And more compassionate sort of feeling towards those people who create a problem on us is a special, let's say, more compassionate feeling. So very helpful, very useful. So reasoning and familiar, this really when you facing some problem, and then the compassionate mind, peace of mind come like that. Okay.
Thank you.
Your Holiness, we turn now to a question from Brittany Rose. She is a first grade teacher at Basalt Elementary School in the Roaring Fork School District, a rural mountain region in Colorado.
Your Holiness, it brings me immense joy to speak with you today. This past year has had many challenges because of COVID, but despite this, I didn't have a bad year. I think I had a beautiful year. Knowing that we can be happy in my classroom brings me peace. At the same time, I don't want to be dismissive of the suffering that is out in the world. My question is, how can I be both happy with my students and keep my heart open to the suffering in our world? If I am focused on bringing happiness in my classroom, does this mean that I am ignoring the suffering in the world around us?
Compassion or sense of concern of suffering. When there is suffering, then that feeling develops, as I already mentioned. So, the troubled world is source of practice of compassion. The problem cannot solve by force, by weapon, by anger. The problem can reduce, can solve with more compassionate mind. In order to show other more compassionate one, first you yourself practice whole your life. You see, much sort of familiar with compassion. Then even today's your enemy, any sensible human being eventually appreciate, realize. On the other hand, there's no other alternative or some problem, and then fight. No answer. Our past century, you see, we done that. Never solved problem. Now we have to find other alternative, more compassionate mind that really, or say, peaceful world through inner peace. There's no other alternative. If you rely on different weapons, including nuclear weapon, it's a very short-sighted and foolish thinking. More compassionate mind and those people who create a problem for you, especially towards these people, more compassionate mind, is a really immense effect. Okay.
Thank
Yes.
you, Your Holiness.
Yes.
Our
Morat
next-
mashit sona morat tanda kadi shete wa dirisha te zinde nalo ya punyambo ndebe kapte nawa kibushta yubutus zinde nalo punyambo nawa kibush ndebe kapla ya an zambuli chi nalo ya tanda te toyik nem gotone donge shukchimbu yorwas and punyambo zemu te lap zinde nalo ya an kibush nawa kibush ndebe digi zambuli chi gi 동행들이야 삼로 막고 버튼 되게 차게 열베스 that cheese 동행 삼로 당신 뭐가 시질이 간실이야 아니 보고 졸이야 참고해야다 기부용에 탑식 근데 마게와 제가 탑식 가려나서 뭐란 근데 쉬어드리자
I think the student also, beside their lesson, education, but they also is a human being. They love compassion. Teacher show more compassionate mind. With compassionate mind or sense of responsibility to teach student, then student very much appreciate. The teacher teach the subject without compassionate feeling or without sense of responsibility about student, then the teacher also, you see, just because of your salary, you carry teacher's work, and the student also attend class more or less compulsory, not much. I think the student feel as soon as class finish, they much happier, run away. If you see teacher and student develop more compassionate feeling, then student also, you see, when enter class, feel happy. When class nearly finish, then student feel unhappy. It is very, very nature, very nature. So warm-heartedness or compassionate mind is key factor, very important. And when I got lesson from my teacher, occasionally teacher used to criticize me, but usually you see showing very loving kindness. It really affect. Then I want to spend more with my teacher. Occasionally some problem, then I feel the lesson as soon as finish better, like that. So everywhere, any human activities with compassionate mind, or business field, or politicians, or teachers, everywhere, warm-heartedness is the key factor. Although not nice, you see, if I say, Dalai Lama, quite popular, because my face always smile. If Dalai Lama's face more angry or too much, stern,
very stern.
Stern, then I may not become popular. Okay. So this is not so. So I want something popular. I practice warm-heartedness and explaining to other people. With that, the way expression of this inner face, as my face always smile. So it is very benefit. I think Buddha statue, more peace, calm, very good. If Buddha statue, more angry face, then I don't think, you see, we feel like that. Okay. Then you see we have some different deities, very fearful. There is some different, also the different purpose, different sort of reason. Otherwise, from human being, or even I can say, even from God or heaven, then till insect, warm-heartedness is the key factor, you see, to bring closer and happy. So this academic or secular ethics are not necessarily related with religious belief. Like animal, no religious faith. But animal very much appreciate our warm-hearted attitude. Okay.
Yeah.
Then next.
Sana.
Thank you so much, Your Holiness. It brings me great happiness to introduce Dr. Ashley Potvin for our next question. She's a researcher and an educator in the Crown Institute at the University of Colorado Boulder on our Compassion and Dignity team, along with Professor Bill Penuel and Dean Kathy Schultz. And she also is a former middle and high school teacher.
Your Holiness, it's so special to be speaking with you today. When I was a classroom teacher, I experienced many joys, as teaching can be really such a fulfilling job. But teaching can also be quite challenging, and we know that educators today are often overwhelmed and at risk of burnout, especially in the current context of the pandemic. So much has been asked of teachers, and in many places, the work of teachers is not highly valued. Your Holiness, my question is, as people who are dedicated to service, how can teachers also be compassionate and kind with themselves? How do we help those around us learn the importance of self-kindness too, especially when the demands on them are so great?
Yes, now this also, you see, teacher, carry their work, teaching student with a sense of compassion, sense of concern about the student. Then eventually the relation between teacher and the student becomes something very close. So, as I briefly mentioned, you see, every human activities with sense of compassion, closeness feeling, any human activities become meaningful. So, teachers also, you see, should develop genuine sense of concern or compassion towards student. Then, days, weeks, months, the student also appreciate the teacher's real feeling, the sense of responsibility to teach student with sense of also the real concern. They consider the rest of the student's life, not just lesson with a sense of compassion, genuine concern. Then the relation between teacher, student truly becomes something human way and something very close. I feel that. Okay. Now next.
Your Holiness, our next question comes from Professor Manuel Espinoza from the University of Colorado, Denver.
As a child of God, I greet you. Peace and grace unto you. My team and I, including young people at the Right to Learn Dignity Lab, study the ways that dignity is both insulted and affirmed in public education. Your Holiness, as you know, dignity is inherent in the human, but the growth of one's personal sense of dignity requires experiences. As humans, we must feel dignity to understand that we carry it wherever we go, even if the society in which we live does not recognize it. We are currently working to amend our state's constitution so that all schools can become places where education is in harmony with the dignity of the human person. However, there are challenges. So my question is, how can we help our society learn to become defenders of the human right to dignity in education?
I think in the past, you see, kings, queens, and also dictators, see, they just use power. Now we totally sort of dedicated democracy. Everything come election. So for election, popularity is the key factor. So now today's world, democratic sort of world, and also on top of that, socialist sort of idea, thinking the rest of the people, and including poor people. So if you sincerely implement these ideas with sense of compassion, then your popular automatically increase. So more sort of any, or say, including education or business work or even if the politics, if you really carry your activities with sense of concern of people's well-being sincerely, seriously, then your own popularity automatically increase. And these very much related with selfish, I want, not that way. How can I make contribution for better society, happy humanity, happy world? You sincerely dedicated that and carry your work, and then popular automatically increase, isn't it? Okay. Then next.
Your Holiness, we turn now to a question from Jovita Schiffer, who is the Extended Learning and Community Programs Manager in the Boulder Valley School District.
Your Holiness, it is such an honor to be here today. I have dedicated my life to fighting for social justice and racial equity, especially in a world where there is still so much suffering. I know that compassion and forgiveness can be more powerful than hate and anger. However, sometimes people think that when I show compassion to someone who has caused harm, that I'm condoning their behavior or not holding them accountable. My question is, how do you cultivate and promote compassion for people who cause you harm without condoning their behavior? How can justice and compassion work together?
Certainly, past has a history, not talking about our inner value. Then, under that circumstances, more forceful, or more suspicion, or self-centered attitude. You see, according to the unfortunate circumstances, such things, such practice is relevant. Now today, world much change. As I mentioned earlier, world democracy and socialist. So therefore, now, in order to you be leader, the popular support is key factor. So, warm-heartedness is again key factor. I think, generally speaking, humanity compare past century. I think today's humanity more practical, more wiser, including some scientists now begin to feel peace of mind is something key factor. Okay.
Morang kanti shwete dirishara nyoba chenyele ya zeo mala ba cheje ya nyoba chebe ke nyoba chawadele ya tonglen che tapshe karwenas chawadele ngogo chebe na nyoba chenye kuran ya zeo motune che tinye magewa che tapshe karyores.
That is, once you have a serious the conviction, compassionate work. Basic human nature is more compassionate. And look back our past history. All these topple out of hatred and self-centered, very narrow, selfish mind. When we realize these things, then those people who still follow that, we can develop genuine sense of concern or sense of sympathy, such people. So these are much based on your own deeper experience and knowledge. Or then, you see, those individuals, including leaders who committed a different way, especially such people, you can develop special sense of concern, special of compassion. And then, this is 장den지, 랑수다 니지 상반이, with compassionate mind, honest automatically come. Compassion, cleverness cannot go together. Even temporarily, you may need some tactic, but basically motivation, compassionate motivation. Okay. So compassionate mind and honest, truthful always go together. Okay. Now next.
Your Holiness, it's my pleasure to introduce now John McCluskey, who is the principal at Centennial Middle School in the Boulder Valley School District.
Your Holiness, I'm deeply grateful for this opportunity. Many of the questions we've addressed so far have been from the perspectives of individual teachers and how to become more compassionate. As a longtime teacher and now school principal for many years, my question is, do you have any wisdom for a school that is interested in bringing compassion into the entire school? What are the key components that such a school needs in order to become a more compassionate school?
Now, as a matter of fact, today's, the education institution, you see, these are very much oriented about intellectual education. Actually, modern education comes from West. So accept religious belief with that compassion. Otherwise, you see, the existing modern education, very much materialistic sort of view. So now we really need worldwide, benefit, worldwide concern, then sense of concern, compassion become key factor. So I often use expressing, in our education should include one lesson about warm-heartedness. Not as a religious matter, for their own, for student, both teacher, student, their own health reason. More compassionate mind automatically bring inner peace. Inner peace, very, very helpful to healthy body. So eventually, I think we can help developing new concept about education. Education very much related with warm-heartedness, like that. Okay.
Your Holiness, we have two more questions. And for the first, I would like to turn back to Professor Espinosa.
Practicing compassion asks us to pay attention to someone else's suffering. Some people might say, since our own life is full of suffering, why should we take on more suffering by thinking about other people's suffering? My question is this: how would you, Your Holiness, respond to someone who says something like this?
Now here, the genuine compassion. Actually, the basis of determination, basis of courage. So there is no point if you truly practice genuine compassion with reason, training, then those sentient being, and particularly human being, who really facing difficulties, extraordinary sort of suffering, then you will get more deeper sense of concern. The only thing is, teacher, the people who really passing through difficulties, so that difficulties immediate or say the overcome, no way. We have to think causes of that suffering, how to overcome that cause. That is compassionate mind with realistic wisdom. That is important. Otherwise, our compassion, like animals' compassion, animal, their friend suffering, just as if he sense of concern. No way how to overcome this suffering. We human beings, we have this intelligence. So sense of concern brings wisdom, and that gives you inner strength, self-confidence. Okay.
Thank you.
Your Holiness, the final question comes from Brittany Rose.
As a first grade teacher, the majority of my instruction is in the foundational skills of literacy and mathematics. I have clear guidelines from both national and state level sources regarding what is best to teach young learners. Your Holiness, my question is, when it comes to compassion, what do you believe is the most important thing to teach children so that they can become more compassionate people in the world?
As I already mentioned, the student also usually loves compassionate mind with that genuine sense of responsibility. As I already mentioned, teacher who just carry lesson teaching, and the other teacher who really take care of the students' knowledge, their future, and the students, you see, really makes differences. So therefore, in education field, we should pay more attention about warm-heartedness with human intelligence combined. Okay.
Your Holiness, I want to express our deepest gratitude for this time with you and your counsel. You know, the Crown Institute was named with the love of a daughter, P.C. Crown, to her mother, Renée Crown. So compassion is at the heart of our work, and we are dedicated to carrying forward all of your teachings in our work and in our partnership with the Compassion Institute. And for our final words, I would like to turn now to Stephen Butler, who is the Executive Director of the Compassion Institute.
Your Holiness, I'm deeply honored to have this opportunity to say thank you to you on behalf of the Renée Crown Wellness Institute at the University of Colorado Boulder and Compassion Institute, as well as our panelist educators. We extend our deepest gratitude to you for sharing your wisdom, your inspiration, your profound advice. For decades, you have been a beacon of hope for all of humanity and a powerful voice for compassion, reminding all of us how this fundamental human quality has the power to transform our lives and the world. For many of us, especially the Compassion Institute, Your life and teaching have been a powerful source of inspiration and encouragement for our work. Your vision and your work dedicated to making compassion a central pillar in the lives of the individual, the community, and society is something we all strive to serve. We at Compassion Institute are so honored to be in partnership with the Renée Crown Wellness Institute and the University of Colorado, exploring ways to bring compassion training to K through 12 educators. With your inspiration as our guide, Your Holiness, we hope this work will instill compassion in those that serve society in one of its most important areas, the education of our future generations. May you have a long and stable life. May we all work our utmost to establish compassion as the seed, the nourishment, and the fruit of a kinder and more caring world. Thank you.
So now, conclusion, existing education as a system pay only intelligence. Now, since this education of human being and education for happier humanity, so education must combine with education about warm-heartedness. Warm-heartedness, nothing to do, as I already mentioned, nothing to do with religious belief. Simply healthy mind, peaceful mind. You see, in education, now we should now include some education about how to develop happy person with happy mind. Then automatically, anger is the key factor, destroyer of peace of mind. So opposite, compassion is the key factor for peace of mind. Usually fear, also you see, out of anger, more fear. More compassionate mind, more open mind, so much less fear. So, more compassionate mind really gives us inner strength, self-confidence. So, this not as a subject of religion, as I already mentioned. These are how to develop happy person full of encourage, full of confidence. So I wish, you see, those people who now participate our discussion, think more. If you have more criticism, then I think another occasion you can criticize me. If you more seriously thinking, then these points which I mentioned is something reasonable, something meaningful. Then share with more your friend and you yourself familiar this way of thinking. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all. See you again. See you again. Thank you. Thank you.